My name is Sam Clardy. I'm the Associate Director at the Marine Education Center. We're part of the University of Southern Mississippi, and we're standing here today on the campus of the Gulf Coast Research Lab in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. I love flounder fishing, and there's different times of the year that I like targeting them. For me, early in the spring, when I say early, like April and May, before the weather gets super hot, I do really good, especially around really high tides up around marsh edges. And then on falling tides, anytime you can get around these little cuts around these marsh edges, little ditches draining, you know, that's pulling out bait fish, and those flounder are going to be there to ambush. And then in the fall, whenever they're starting to gather up to move offshore, they get in pretty large numbers, and if you can get on a good bite then, you can really do really well. So juvenile flounder, those flounder that are probably, 10 inches or below, they're primarily eating small fish and crustaceans like little shrimp, little grass shrimp that you can find around, small crabs. Once they get to being an adult, their primary diet is fish. So when you're out there thinking about, or out there fishing for these southern flounder, you want to put that in your wheelhouse. They're out there chasing manhaden, they're out there chasing striped mullet, those type of fish. Not to say if that big shrimp goes by their nose, they won't eat it too, but their primary diets consist of fishes. So flounder are demersal fish, meaning they sit right on the bottom. They stand up and their eyes are exposed, so they're waiting on something to come by them to eat. So they're very, very quick, and they can attack a fish or a shrimp in a blink of an eye. So they wait till it gets right in front of them and they eat them aggressively, and then most of the times they'll settle and sand right back up. So if you're out there fishing and you feel a tap on your jig and then it just feels heavy after that, oftentimes you'll find out that it's a flounder that's grabbed your bait and settled back down. And so you always want to set the hook in those situations. Yeah, so some of my favorite ways to flounder fish is by rod and reel. Over the years, I've developed, a couple baits I really like, and I'm not sponsored by any of these folks, but that Berkeley Gulp in a new penny is a really effective one. That's my go-to bait. 10 years ago, before Berkeley had that Gulp bait out, I was primarily a live bait fisherman for flounder. Once I started using that jig and that lure, I've really transitioned, and I've had tons of confidence in using that, particularly around those marsh edges and those drainage areas from our marshes. One of the real popular things, I like to fish from in April and May, and then maybe like in September, October. Of course, that's in the nicer, pleasant times to be out in the water, or out in the environment. Once those really hot summer days come, a lot of people like to go out and fish at night, and that can introduce flounder gigging. Is an awesome way, recreational activity to take place at night, where you go out with the light and you're fishing in shallow waters. You're taking a light along, lighting up the bottom, and you can see these fish silhouetted on the bottom. A lot of times they'll be sanded up, but you can see their outline, and you'll see their eyes sticking just out of the sand. They're laying there waiting to ambush their prey, and that's when you can take a gig and gig them, and then put them on a stringer, and some fishermen do extremely well with that along the Mississippi Gulf Coast.